Hey, what's up? This is Alpaca here. Fashion coverage by non-fashion outlets frequently descends into talking about how dumb stuff is. Haha, Gucci made jeans with grass stains on them. Oh, isn't this funny? Jean-Paul Gaultier and Y Project did naked people clothes. And of course, the ever-referenced Spring 2016 Rick Owens show with people being used as backpacks. This could be us, but you playin'. Fashion fans love laughing at dumb stuff too. Balenciaga and Fortnite, the Kerwin Frost Adidas shoes, whoever antisocial social club have managed to convince into doing a collaboration with them. There are loads of social media accounts purely focused on fashion memes as well, and only half of them are dedicated to making fun of Rick Owens fans. As far as I'm concerned, all this stuff existing is a good thing. Fashion shouldn't have to take itself too seriously, and I think being able to take these weird references and recontextualizing them in a fashion environment is kind of cool, as is being able to laugh at yourself. However, there is a particular genre of non-serious fashion which to me sits above the rest. Shirts that go hard. We're talking clothing which has just the right amount of chaotic energy to make people think, damn, that shirt goes kinda hard. Funny, ironic, dumb, yet in my eyes one of the greatest fashion trends going. Let's dive deep into some cultural criticism and find out exactly why. Shirts that go hard. What exactly are we talking about here? It's not really the traditional comedy t-shirt because, let's be honest, a lot of that stuff was not funny then and it's still not funny now. Actually, it's more often where the comedy is unintentional. There's an entire genre of strange copyright infringing marketplace clothing which is so bizarre and uses so many weird mixed references that actually wearing one becomes kind of strangely funny. Of course, the Sonic Obama one is the holy grail, but there are so many examples, each just as weird as the last. Seeing these characters in totally inappropriate ways has some real comedy bootleg value. It's called fashion, sweetie, look it up. The other type of unintentional comedy is clothing which might be deadly serious to a very small group of people, but kind of ridiculous to everyone else. Like, if you're wearing your favorite Division 1 sports ball team, yeah, that's not really that funny because anyone could conceivably imagine that you would actually support that team. But if you're pulling up in the 2009 Tiddlywinks World Championship runner-up commemorative t-shirt, but also fully dripped out at the same time, that's kind of a different story. People are going to be like, damn, this guy is serious about Tiddlywinks. In a similar vein, we have merch from weird places, like some backwater gift shop selling heinous graphic t-shirts that haven't been updated in decades that say like, I visited the magic cave of Wisconsin, or something like that. Actually, wait, I have the perfect example. Okay, slightly embarrassing, I couldn't find it, but I got this t-shirt from a gift shop at the foot of Mount Snowdon commemorating my achievement. Yes, I did actually go up it in a kind of tacky, over-the-top way, and in my opinion, this t-shirt goes kind of hard. It's funny to me because it's so detailed about the location, there's so much information on it, and it's obviously not a fashion product, but at the same time, it fits in so nicely for obvious reasons with any kind of gorpcore outdoor fashion type stuff. And it also commemorates a thing that I did that was kind of fun, so yeah, I like it. We can also count clothing related to some hobby many people are going to be unfamiliar with, like wearing some super niche gaming or anime t-shirt you got from a convention that only mega nerds would attend. Yeah, it's called Call of Duty, you probably haven't heard of it. What does this have to do with fashion though? We're talking stuff that people with no interest in fashion would probably buy, and was probably never created with fashion in mind, or if it was, it's so far off the mark that it's firmly entered Cringeville. But that's exactly the point. Shirts that go hard are so anti-fashion that wearing them in a fashion context totally reverses their perception. The serious becomes comedy. The uncool becomes strangely cool. This is, in essence, ironic fashion. At least that's how many people like to consider this stuff. The reality, I think, is a little bit more complex. We'll come back to that later because I think it's important and it's something that I haven't really seen too many people touch on. But it's super important in identifying exactly what makes dumb clothing actually really good. Something we need to talk about first is that ironic non-fashion has been adopted by the fashion industry on an absolutely massive scale, taking these concepts and presenting them now in a fashion context. And I do have a good example for this one. It is, of course, the Nike Wizard Island tee, designed to imitate the sort of 1980s graphics, this idea of a gift shop that hasn't updated its inventory in years, and indeed this represents the actual Wizard Island in Nike's home state of Oregon. I think if a lot of people saw something like this in a trail gift shop, they'd be pointing it out and being like, yo, look at this thing, this is so stupid or silly or whatever. But this was only made 2 years ago by the biggest sportswear brand in the world, so there's kind of an implicit endorsement that actually stuff that looks like this can be kind of cool. Even if it's designed as a bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing and maybe lacking lacking the sincerity that an original version of something like this might have had. This is just the tip of the iceberg though. You've got brands like Online Ceramics where their whole identity is based around this sort of early 2000s web graphics, I've just started to learn PowerPoint sort of look. Maximalism and irony is clearly the goal there, and it's mixed in with loads of references to the Grateful Dead, which many current wearers are probably going to be unfamiliar with. It's doing a similar thing, I feel, to what Cavempt has done for years, although I'd argue that tackles these kinds of ideas with a little bit more nuance. Ventmont's basically built their brand on this concept, not just making their own weird esoteric graphics, but collaborating with all kinds of non-fashion brands and turning their logo and branding, mixing it up with a bit more avant-garde type stuff, a new presentation, and saying, oh yeah, this stuff, we're making it cool now. Please buy it. Even now, a collab with OnlyFans turns a brand that a lot of people would probably be embarrassed to be seeing wearing in public, being a simp is pretty much an at-home, indoors kind of activity, into something with a weird amount of credibility, or at least something that you can pass off as wearing as a joke. Story MFG have come out with a series of ridiculous t-shirts promoting various fruits and vegetables that you can wear, and McDonald's and Cactus Plant Flea Market have kind of done the opposite. So regardless of where you sit on the healthy food scale, you've got a weird, ironic t-shirt for you. Both, of course, using ridiculous graphics and phrases in the process. No one is wearing a t-shirt that says special sauce this big unironically. These things totally defy convention about what makes a good piece of streetwear clothing, and as a result, they go hard. What about Burberry and Minecraft? Respected fashion house, plus clothing that you would associate with weird kids asking you if you have any games on your phone. It's not just respected or respected fashion houses doing this. All kinds of brands are popping up making homages or throwbacks to things formerly perceived as cringe, and just weird references to things now presented as fashion or streetwear that people can wear because they think it's stupid or funny or ironic. Wearing clothing ironically is apparently big business, and boy oh boy do people love doing it. There's a strange relationship between these two categories of shirts that go hard. On the one hand, we have the unintentionally funny stuff originally designed with seriousness in mind, and then we have the fashion version designed to reference that original stuff and designed with the purpose of, yeah, we know this is funny and stupid and you should buy it anyway. Looking at those two side by side, it's easy to see one as the authentic, the originator, and the other as the shameless capitalist copy, but I actually think the two kind of have a symbiotic relationship. You need both of these things to survive, because the fashion ironic category kind of gives legitimacy to the potentially non-ironic, potentially cringe stuff. The existence of so many ironic Minions collaborations means that you could probably just get away with wearing a regular Minions t-shirt and people would just assume that it's a fashion product at this point. That said, sometimes recreations can really beat a joke to death. There was that trend of 90s rapper homage t-shirts but using non-rappers like Louis Theroux and stuff, and so many brands hopped on that so quickly that it kind of went from funny and ironic to cringe pretty quickly. You kind of need ironic fashion and ironic non-fashion together. Otherwise, you just end up being some weirdo walking around with a Lego Star Wars t-shirt on. Actually, that's kind of a good idea. Hi, can I speak to George Lucas? I guess what I'm saying for the first half of this video is one of the great things about shirts that go hard is that you don't need to get super involved with a high fashion brand in order to make it work because of the existence of these two sides. Yeah, you could get some expensive Ventmont's thing, but you could also get away with some weird £15 gift shop product and still make it funny and ironic and dumb and work. And the range of available options are absolutely enormous. This is not your average trend in that respect. Pretty much anything that you like, movies, video games, courier services, apparently, there will be some kind of weird, funny, dumb t-shirt that you can wear that represents it in a way that you think is cool. Even outside of tees, for every mega expensive Lightning McQueen pair of Crocs, there's going to be some other equally weird, funny thing that as of yet is totally undiscovered. You could be the person to discover it. I think the general population still has this perception that fashion takes itself way too seriously, so hopefully the enduring popularity of this kind of trend helps show people that, yeah, people that enjoy fashion are in on the joke as well. Caring about how you dress doesn't also mean that you can't be silly. Just let me rock the novelty Hot Wheels sunglasses. These are both positives, but not the true reason that I think shirts that go hard is the ultimate dumb trend. We have to look a little bit deeper for this stuff. YouTube fashion king Frugal Aesthetic covered a similar topic in a video which he called Ironic Fashion is Taking Over, and in this video he described this entire genre of clothing that's essentially bad or cringe on purpose, about how wearing dumb clothing as a joke is growing more and more popular. This video is about to get that video down on the couch to psychoanalyze it.
And Mr. Aesthetic, why did you start to purchase the ironic t-shirts?
I started buying these as a joke, I'll admit. And then I realized after a while of thinking I was just being funny, this is just who I am. You want me to talk about how this has something to do with my childhood? Like, I honestly, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is just who I am. You have to either accept it or you don't. It's not my problem. This isn't my problem. It's not my problem. It's not my problem. This isn't my problem. This has nothing to do with you. This is just who I am.
Und there it is.
I'm not going to talk about my childhood. I remember when my dad used to take me to McDonald's.
Christian touched on greatness in that video by inadvertently uncovering something crucial, not repressed childhood memories, but the concept of people not being sure what things are ironic or unironic anymore.
This is where it gets kind of gray. Like, I honestly don't know how much of the bit everyone is in on. And it gets even deeper because I don't think some of these brands even really know how deep the joke is. I don't know, or do they?
This is the key, the secret to what makes shirts that go hard so good. We're not dealing with irony, we're dealing with post-irony. Post-irony is a sort of cultural genre or way of describing things. Anything can be post-ironic, from music to gardening, I guess. And fashion is definitely something that can fall into this. If we wear clothing ironically, we're saying, I know this stuff is dumb, but I'm wearing it anyway. Haha, I'm being funny. Some stuff is definitely like this, and ironic fashion success is built on people taking this attitude. However, post-irony takes things one stage further, into imagining a situation where people aren't sure if something is ironic or not, or something is simultaneously both ironic and sincere. Let's make that actually make sense and return to the Wizard Island tee, which I've thrown across the room. Yes, there is ironic appeal to this shirt. It's so bad, it's good. The graphic is so over the top, etc, etc. But also, if you look at it up close, it's a pretty cool and detailed graphic, and I like wizards, I like D&D, so this kind of, yeah, it's funny and it's stupid and it's dumb, but also there is something kind of that genuinely appeals to me about the t-shirt. Part of my appreciation for this is genuine, so it is simultaneously a joke and not a joke, ironic and not ironic. Christian, aka Mr. Frugal Aesthetic himself, has, again maybe inadvertently, tapped into exactly this with these Pain Station 2 t-shirts. These t-shirts hark back to cringe comedy graphics and the nihilistic millennial humor, haha, life is pain. People wanting to wear something like that now are, yes, doing it ironically, but at the same time I'd be willing to bet a lot of people have a lot of fondness and nostalgia for that PS2 logo and the PlayStation 2 era. People having sleepovers, playing Tony Hawk's 3 and Soul Calibur in a time where games were sophisticated enough to be these amazing epic adventures, but not so sophisticated that they all come with battle passes and thousands of dollars of microtransactions. It was a golden age. That PS2 logo means something genuine and sincere, whilst also being part of an ironic joke. I'm hoping those examples make sense. Post-irony is the intertwining of irony and sincerity, and it's that intertwining that makes this stuff, to me, particularly compelling. And to be clear, I don't think people are going around thinking, I think I shall buy some post-ironic fashion today. People are not having that explicit thought in mind, but I think people do look at this kind of clothing and find simultaneously comedy value and some kind of real value. Post-irony here is just the term used to describe that thought or feeling people are having without necessarily being conscious of it. When we're talking fashion brands, combining something weird, esoteric, ironic with the reputation of that brand is a weirdly freeing way of wearing something stupid. Wearing an OnlyFans tee is, haha, I'm advertising myself as an OnlyFans consumer, which is ironic because normally people are embarrassed or ashamed to be discussing that kind of consumption. But wearing only Vetements is, oh, I'm being very fashionable, I'm wearing an exclusive fashion brand, but there's still also that ironic stuff from before. Is this guy being serious? Is this guy joking? Kinda both. Post-ironic enjoyment of dumb t-shirts kind of protect you from the irony not landing because there's also a sincere element, and also kind of protect you from the cringe because you're not doing it entirely with sincerity. Effectively, you're in on the joke. Post-irony doesn't just have to be related to particular brands that we like, it can also come into play when shirts that go hard reference something that we genuinely enjoy in a stupid way. Like, I found this amazing t-shirt off Etsy combining references to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Neon Genesis Evangelion in a very peculiar way. If I bought this t-shirt and wore it, I would be doing so ironically because having a giant mech photoshopped onto a skateboard is kind of stupid and funny. But at the same time, I genuinely like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and I genuinely like Neon Genesis Evangelion, so it would be kind of a cool way of me showing my affiliation to those things. Even returning to my Snowden tee, you can see where I'm going with this, it's combining the sort of joke, non-fashion element of this strange over-the-top graphic talking about I climbed the mountain and all this, but also referencing something that I genuinely did an experience that I genuinely enjoyed doing. Sincerity and comedy in one. This dichotomy is really at the heart of what makes this kind of clothing so compelling for me. You have that sincerity and comedy in one in a perfect fusion. It's a reminder that fashion can be cool and fun and stupid at the same time. You don't just have to pick a side. Purely ironic fashion, stuff which is just created as a sort of fashion in-joke, I think is subject to the trend cycle as much as anything else. Today's comedy is tomorrow's cringe. Amogus, am I right? But adding in that dimension of something genuine kind of creates this weird sense of timelessness about some of these things. And that to me is why shirts that go hard is the ultimate fashion trend, and long may it live on. What do you think about this stuff though? Do you own anything which falls into this category? And another good conversation topic that I would definitely like to hear people's thoughts on is how do you feel about fashion brands making this purposefully stupid or ironic stuff? Do you think it's cool and interesting and something that you would buy? Or do you just think it's a total stupid waste of money and you'd rather just buy serious fashion output instead? Equally acceptable to non-fashion stuff, or just a pale imitation? Let me know what you think. And thanks very much for making it to the end of the video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. This was a fun topic to talk about, I think. I would love to do more stuff like this in the future, so really appreciate your thoughts, your feedback, your little thumb buttons. Either way, thanks again for watching. We'll catch you very soon in the next one.